Now let's continue with our second example that has plants instead of fire. Go ahead and create your new composition. Let's call it plants. Choose the right width and height and make sure that your background color is black. So we're basically going to repeat everything we did in the fire example, except when it comes to the videos, we're going to use a different tool. So first, let's hold down Command and hit Y, that's Control Y on Windows, to create a black solid. Let's grab our text tool and type in plants, or anything else that you want. Use the Align tab to center your text, then hold down Control and double click on the anchor point tool. I think we need to make ours a little smaller. Center your text, then double click on this because the anchor point will change when you're changing the size of your text. So be sure to always have the anchor point at the center of your text. Now let's grab our background photo, which will go inside our text. That would be the plant image. I'm just going to bring it underneath my text like this. Then we're going to head over to Track Matte. If you're not seeing this, you may have to hit Toggle Switches and Modes. Then choose the Luma Matte Plants. Now we have the plants inside of the text. Hit S on your photo to resize the image. You can also move it around by hitting V on your keyboard. Maybe choose a spot that has more of that green, and that way it will look better. Once we're done, we're going to pre-comp all of these. So hold down Command, press A or Control A, right click, pre-compose, call this plant text. Now it's time to bring in our videos that we want to bring out from these text. So this is my first video. I'm going to drag it above my plant text. Let's mute this. It's basically a video of this leaf in the rain. My photo also has raindrops, so this will be suitable. Just gonna bring in my photo first. We're gonna delete it later and go in the Effects and Presets panel, which you can bring in by going to Window and checking this section. Over here, let's type in Lumetri Color, and I basically want to adjust the color of my video to the color of the photo because we're gonna make it look as if this plant is coming from inside the text. So right now the green here is a little bit on the warmer side, and we can fix that by going to Basic Correction, bringing the temperature towards the left. Same thing for tint. Let's increase the contrast, lower the saturation. Go to Creative, and we're just going to work with the tints for shadow and highlights until we get a similar result. Once we have a similar result, we can go ahead and delete the background image. And we're just left with a plant that looks pretty good on top of the background image. Let's hit S on our video and lower the scale so it can come out from one of these letters. Just zoom in real quick. Hide your video and choose which letter you want this leaf to show up from. Lower the opacity and place it right above our letter. Gonna flip it the other way and match the edge of my video with the edge of this letter. Now let's turn our resolution to full, then double click on this video, and we're basically going to use the Roto Brush tool to separate the leaves from the background. So grab your brush and make sure you're at the beginning of your frame. Loosely go over the leaves, and we're going to separate this plant from all the other leaves in the background. Something loose like this. We can always come back and work with how it looks. So just be really rough with the selection. And then by holding down Alt or Option, you can go on the areas that After Effects brought in by accident. So just keep doing this until you have a nice selection of your plants. Just be sure that you're at the start of your frame and that you refine those edges as much as possible. May take some time, but it will look better once we put it on top of our text. Once we have our selection, you can also use one of the views down here to see exactly how much you brought in from that plant. So the first option is just the alpha channel. The white ones are what's visible, and the black ones are things that are not visible. The second view is what you're on by default. The third view gives you an overlay option, which basically paints everything that's not in your selection with the color that you can choose down here. You can also increase the opacity from 50 to 100, and that way you can see it better. Let's choose white. So now I can see if some of the edges are a bit off or if I need to refine them more. Once you made a good selection, we can go ahead and hit freeze over here. And it's basically going to look at all the frames in our video and keep the selection as it is. I will go back to the toggle alpha boundary and lower the length of my video because I only need a few frames, maybe around 5 seconds. Make sure that you're at the start and then hit freeze. It's going to analyze all of the frames, and as you can see, the purple lines are moving around with the plant. So once you're finished, we're going to have the plant alone all throughout the video. Once we're done, we can go back to the composition. Just hit T on the video and bring back the opacity. So now we have this cutout, which I'm going to place exactly where I want it to show up. I'll just flip it back to what it was. And now I can begin masking out the parts that I don't want in my text. You can also try different letters and see which one will give you the best result. I think I'll go with the letter T and make the plant show up from inside the letter. Right click on your video and hit pre-comp. Let's call this RotoBrush plant. And now we can go ahead and use the pen tool to mask out the areas where we don't want the video to show up. So I will start from this point. Make sure that you're seeing this icon next to your cursor. It's the square with a black dot. If you're not seeing that and you're seeing a star instead, that means that you're not going to be creating a mask. So make sure that you're seeing that square and that you have selected your layer. Now let's turn off Roto Bezier because we don't want curves in this. We have pretty sharp letters. Make our first point. Let's hit T on our composition and lower the opacity. Hold down Shift before making our second point. Click the first point. Hold down Shift, second point, Shift, third point, and just go over the areas that you don't need. Also zoom in and make sure that it's right in those corners. Use the spacebar to move your canvas around. And pretty easily we can mask out this video on our letter. When you're done with your selection, just grab the last point and make a big mask. So now we have the video on this area and not the other ones. So let's just hit M on our pre-comp and check the box for inverted. Once we bring back the opacity of our video, we now have this plant showing up from inside our T. And because we changed the color of our video, it looks as if it belongs to this environment. When we move forward, the plant is moving. So now we have raindrops on our plant and it looks pretty okay. Now let's pre-compose this one more time. Comp 2. And now we don't have the mask on the outside and it's instead inside this composition. Now we can go ahead and add more plant videos all around our letters. So we can just duplicate this RotoBrush plant, Command D, hit V to move it around, and just place it on different areas of your text. We will be changing the mask, so there's no worries about this guy. I will just put it on P or L. We can right click and flip it around so it looks a little different from our previous example. Let's flip it horizontal. It went to the other side. Do something like this. Then we can just use the pen tool to edit these points that we made earlier. So just match it with the letter L. Make a new point and stretch it out like this. It will be a weird shape, but this way we can keep the plant coming out from certain points and not from everywhere. Be sure to zoom in and make sure that the points are exactly on the sharp edges of the letters. So now we have these two videos coming out from two of our letters. And I will just reverse the second duplicate so that the movements are the same. Right click, go to time, and time reverse layer. So now the movements, as you can see, are not identical. And now we're finished with the rotor brushing of this effect. In the next lesson, we're going to bring in some extra leaves just to bring this effect together. So I'll see you guys there.